This event's theme is wrenched. So, however that's interpreted by the storyteller. Maybe it's working on a bike, maybe it's just getting thrown sideways by something, just feeling all kind of twisted up about it, just kind of feeling wrenched about it. However it's interpreted by the storyteller. So it could go 1,000 different ways. So it's really exciting to see how it gets interpreted by each one of these folks coming up here today. We got a great lineup. Super excited by the folks that agreed to be here today. First up, we have Joe Adams, aka Dirt Reynolds, who is the current, let's see if I get all of these words together, who is the current AMA Vintage Hair Scramble Champion. So, super excited to have him here. I first saw Joe probably last summer at Mid-Ohio. I think we were covered in dirt. Probably because we just finished racing that day by the time I met him, and have seen him down at Barber since then, and back up here in Louisville. So our paths keep crossing, so I'm super excited that he agreed to be a storyteller with us here today. Come on up, Joe Adams.
Thank you so much, Susan. You guys give her a hand. Helping to get all this merchandise up here, which go ahead and get some merchandise while you're here. Anyway, I was going to tell you guys about my first train bike. Yeah. Let's start at the beginning. You know, I can't remember. I want to say it was about 1989, and I was lucky enough to live in the suburbs of Louisville, out in the county, and actually, you know, everyone calls it suburbs, but to me it was like more past that. You know, we were way out, more farm country land, but it's still suburban. So this kid in my neighborhood who was probably 5, 6, 7 years older than me, he has this orange Tecumseh mini bike with the pedal, it runs around, you know, set your leg up in there if you're not paying attention, there's no guard for it. And I talked my mom and dad into, you know, letting me buy it. You know, and I settled on a price of $25 with the guy, which was more money than I had, you know. But, you know, twisted my dad's arm and he loaned me the other $10. And pushed it home because, you know, it didn't run. And worked on it, you know, with my dad. It was actually, everyone's like, oh, your dad must be the super rich, right? You know, like, actually he's not. He's an IT programmer. Yeah, I see you. And actually, as a kid growing up, I remember going to work with them and watching them change from reel to reels on the computers. But anyway, so he helped me a little bit. We figured out that there's some bearings and the rear wheels. He got it running right, and I rode that thing like just constantly. You know, the police were always coming over. You can't ride that on the road. You know, all the average shenanigans that you get from, you know, having a mini bike and a, you know, 10-year-old kid. So I remember, like, you know, modifying this thing. You know, that's what all bikers do, right? You know, it had nothing, okay? And I mean nothing. No throttle could hang wide open. Didn't have any brakes, you know, and, you know, or a kill switch. So I kind of feel like, you know, I remember stopping would be, you would have to plan your route. Like, I'm riding around, I need a push. I need something to crash into because I'm wide open and there's no stopping this thing, you know. So, plenty of times I would just crash into a bush in our neighbor's yard or our yard, and the thing just sitting there, you know, lying on the side, wide open. Oh, wheels spinning. Bill's flying everywhere. I'm like, it's fine. I just gotta electrocute myself to turn it off, you know, grab the plug wire. So I got tired of electrocuting myself by, you know, grabbing the plug wire, so I thought, you know what? I'm going to rig up a wire that comes off of that, so I can just ground it to the frame. Great idea. So now you don't have to reach down and pull the wire off the spark plug. You can just reach over there and grab it and electrocute yourself. And I remember several times, it'd be dark because I'd ride this thing till it was totally pitch black. Mom's, come on in, you can't be out there anymore, and you just reach it down and thinking I was good. But I didn't come here to tell you all that. Just want to start at the beginning, so there you go. From the very beginning, I've been the reason for had to lay her down. So I started racing dirt bikes about 9 years ago. I started doing the Two-Stroke Tuesday thing, and at the time, I worked on bikes my whole life. Always wrenching, always changing tires, and I never had a nice new bike. Still haven't, to this day, as far as in my mind. Actually, the newest motorcycle I own, or vehicle period, is 2004 Kawasaki. And, it's a dirt bike, 250, I just, new bikes never have really appealed to me when there's so many. They get shoved to the side that people are like, oh, it needs this and it needs that. I don't know how to do that, And so I learned quickly, it's like, hey, you can get a nice machine if you know how to wrench on these bikes, if you can, fix a carburetor or, put sprockets and chains on or whatever it breaks, So anyway, I was able to take that knowledge with me into my racing career, and people were like, well, how did you start racing? And it was kind of an accident. Let's go, as bikers do, travel. I traveled to Arizona for the first time, and my friend out there, he and I rode bikes in town for years, and he had moved out years before this. And so we meet up out there, and we were actually working on his garage, and I was like, hey, what's up with these dirt bikes back here, And he was like, well, I don't know. Let's fix them and go ride them. So we started wrenching on them, and we got the garage complete that week, got done in a few days. Put these it was a 79 Suzuki 250. That's the one I remember working on the most. And it was pretty haggard. It had a cracked rim. It had, the carburetor was in a box, and just, it was all hard. So we get it all sorted out on the bench and stick it all back together, and the thing fires up. And I was like, let's go ride this. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. I've never ridden the desert. First time in Arizona. And, at this point, he's got super limited riding experience too. So we rented a bike for him. I forget what it was. I think it was a Kawasaki 400 or something. And we go out to the desert, load up the truck, load up the cooler, no idea what we're doing. Where we're going. What's going to happen, And luckily we found a couple guys out there, and they were watching us unload, kind of sitting over there laughing, like, what are these guys going to do? So they were kind enough to show us a loop around the desert and, babysit us because neither one of us had any business being out there. And, from meeting these people, my friend in Arizona is still really good friends with a couple of them, and they ride to this day. And, it was like kind of a change in my opinion about off-road racing and riding, and to the point of like, I thought it was going to be a lot more like Lost Boys, arrogant, meet me at the point, I don't think my bike can do it. And I found out that it's not. It's the exact opposite. These guys are like, no, we all had to struggle, we all had to learn, and we get that you're trying to do that as well, And if it just means we're going to hang out and putt around and help you do that, then absolutely. And just the mentality of these guys was just so unlike anything I'd ever experienced, riding bikes in general. I grew up riding mopeds and scooters, but the camaraderie of these people are like, no, this is serious. This is life and death. If it breaks down, you're stuck out here. So, it definitely added another spice to that soup that I was just ready to have one more big bite of. I'm like, come on, this is delicious. So, I get home from this trip and I'm just pumped up. And like, this is great. And I ran into a good friend of ours in town, Nicholas King. I wish he was here today. He's actually at a race. And he and I started talking, and we did some training together. And next thing I know, I'm going to a race. And then we were loading up this '84 Suburban to go to the first race, and I can remember like, the closer we were getting, the bigger the butterflies in my stomach were growing. You're just like reading the terrain. You're like, oh man, that feels big. This is where we're racing today? Oh man, this is, And, thankfully, my first race was dry. It's the mutters will get you. So we get out of the truck, and we meet this guy who's just parked next to us, Fred Boone, and just the most down-to-earth Indiana guy I've ever met. And he and his son are there, and they're racing, and it's the same feeling of like, hey, can we borrow your tire pump? Absolutely, like, you need anything else? You got enough, whatever. And everyone there was just bending over backwards to be supportive. Be nice, there's none of this, oh man, that guy was really rude, or anything like that, which, like again, going back to the Lost Boys, it seems like, that's what they always pair up dirt bike riders with. And it truly was not, so it was super eye-opening. So I continue on racing for the next few years. Profiteering, and it was fun, but you gotta understand when you're racing like that for yourself, you've got one bike, and you've gotta make that bike last. Like, you can't, I'm gonna blow it up this race, and I won't make next race. So I've got to keep it, tame. So, I would never score very well in these races early on because, I realize now I'm holding myself back by, not putting it all out there. Like, well, so what if you break this? And about 3 years ago, Chad at Retro Ranch said, hey, I want to sponsor you. And he stepped up, and I started racing vintage because I've always liked vintage bikes, and I've always had raced vintage, but not more than once a year. I would race in Mid-Ohio, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to do this a lot more. So he gives me a Yamaha 360, and I mean, it's parts on a shelf. It's not like, oh, you can just go ride this bike, So piece it all together, keep it going, and get it going. And I go to Mid-Ohio and race, and got 4th place. And I was like, oh man, this is great, wow, I'm really doing something. So, I keep working on the bike, it get a little better. Go back the next year. 4th place. 4th place. So, after 3 4th places in a row, I said, you know what, this year I'm going to pull out the stops. And, went back to Chad, told him what I needed. I said, this bike's good, but we need new front forks, or I think they call them emulators, the fork emulators. We put those in there, and then the electronic ignition. And suddenly this bike is just like unstoppable. I go to Daytona and won twice in a row. And I was like, what? And then to Barber, won once there, and then back to Ohio and took the national championship. And it was just like, this is the power of having somebody behind you who says, I believe in you. I see what you're trying to do. And you don't have to worry about blowing this thing up, because if you do, you can bring it to the shop and we'll fix it. It's not just on you. So racing is very much, about the racer, about the course, about all the obstacles. But it's so much more than that. You have to think about what you're doing, where you're going, who's helping you, and what you're trying to do. It's not just about this, I just twist the throttle and go. It is so much more to it. And I have met so many amazing friends, through this, that people that have backed me that I would have never expected to, and didn't have any reason to. But, winning isn't everything. I will say that, because going out there and competing, so I won the hare scramble in Ohio last year, and the next day I raced motocross, vintage motocross. I don't race motocross. It's not my thing. Going out there and banging over hills and stuff is fun in the woods, but on the track, I'm like, okay, so here's this guy, Lightning. And we had raced last year, the year prior together, and he beat me. And between the two of us, we wound up, in one race together, and it was neck and neck the whole time. And I actually did beat him, but you gotta realize we both came in the last two spots. So every racer has his own race to race. It just goes to show you that, whatever you want to do, you can do. I never raced a bike until I was 34, and never expected to ever win a race, much less a championship. But if you keep going, if you really want something in this world, it is obtainable. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time.
Alright, thanks, Joe. That was awesome. And I think that's what we're all finding as we are in the motorcycle world, is it takes a lot of people behind you to really help you do what you want to do and reach what you want to reach. And there's what I'm finding in the communities here is what you found is people are there to help support you along the way, no matter where you're at or what you're seeking to do. Is the community is outstanding. So thank you so much. Congratulations. And I'm going to catch you this year in Ohio.
Sounds good.